Wanoti kusamba manja paku paku. Coronavirus, coronavirus, ino kwa muri, coronavirus, sigolonsela singwa, coronavirus, matenda wote, koma tikakwirizana, aunduna wazamu, coronavirus, kugundisoko sankulinga utamba, patiko pano papa mulili, watu kuno tena yampiga sinkamba kama jali. Mazana kumaiko hapunja, sunziga ni coronavirus. Nikuna na pano kuno ku Afrika, pafubi konse apiga. Malawi pofika lelo, tena bezena kale ni coronavirus. Malawi samala, Malawi shenjela, tiga pusa ditano se. Samba manja bafubi kukwiritsa njiro soko. Ibewe kumakala pamama ni chikulu, monga kumisiga ni mapala. Tisamakale moya nigana, oche pela wanimita. Kaditi kumbazi sindikilo, tikale patoka osa inaenda. Ahunguna waza umoyo, hakulengeza zaka pewede. Ikamatenda sawa, ifetika mpatingo ino kwa muri. Sigolonsela singwa, coronavirus, matenda wote, koma tikakwirizana, aunduna wazamu, marendawa amafala, kutela mumakololo mumaloko ni maminda, yokosa mola kisika jochinga, zojo kankamwa zisakwele. Ibewe kupila bagamwa, ibewe kupila mfuno. Maso mkudu tisana sambe manja ndiso. Ngati kunchito mumapila ambili, kuli wino kugawa na mashifti. Isevide dala kumalo, komwe kwa buka matenda we.
Okila nchito ntibadala na nusu mulindi utindo. Muwane tete kudi mugutite deza kumarenda wa. Tisa mkuta rala.
Komala Malawi siri jede, ufuna kutanga ni madena wa. Lakazi kitanga ulomego, ufuna kutetela ni madena wa. Laiga na bala ya unele, ya ifumi yolo wezeka. Yomwe vizihimba kuitana madokolo, kuzadi tangizira panyumba patu. Pamele lava kutenta mtubi, kukosa mola mkawiliza. Kubuma moba nigani zikine, imba infoli jaule. Kampala yage, 547, 47, kajigenda, 547, 47, imbaniso, 547, 47, kajigenda, 547, 47.
A lovely good evening to you all viewing us on Facebook Live as well as on www.ihubonline.net. My name is Malik Mnela, welcoming you to yet another edition of our virtual town hall. And tonight I am privileged, soon I'll be joined by HRDC officials Luke Tembo as well as Reverend Sembereka, and tonight we'll be talking COVID in relation to governance, politics, as well as democracy and other issues in between. And it's really promising to be and exciting program. So I urge you to stay tuned and also remember to invite friends, share on our timeline, on your timeline, so that they come and discuss issues that relate to the country's development as well as the fight against the COVID pandemic. Madzulo abwino kwa inu nonse kulikonse komwe mukutionera. Dzina langa ndine Malik Mnela, kukulandirani ndi manja awiri, ndipo ndiyesa kuti pa foni yanu ya pamanja, pa kompyuta, angakhale pakanema pamene mukutionera matirandiranso ndi manja awiri. Ndiyetu lero lino chikhale tikukambirana nkhani yokhudza matenda a COVID-19 momwe akhudzira kayendetsedwe ka ntchito za ndale, kachitidwe ka ndale, kayendetsedwe ka boma, kayendetsedwe ka ntchito za ulamuliro wabwino, ufulu wa anthu ndi zina zotero zimene zimakhudza ufulu wa anthu. Ndiye posachedwapa ndikhale ndili ndi Bambo Luke Tembo komanso Mbusa Reverend makamaka Mbusa MacDonald Sembereka. Ndiye inu adziwitseni anzanu kuti pano pabwera ndithu anthu oti akambirane nkhani zokhudzana ndi chitukuko, ndale, ufulu wa anthu komanso matenda a COVID-19. Bambo Tembo, takulandirani. Mwina mwake kapena mwina vuto ndine ndi kulephera kuti ndikumveni, koma ndiyesa kuti mwayankha kuti mwaswera bwino. Inu mukundimva? Zikuoneka kuti pamene paja sitikumvana kwenikweni, komano ndaonanso Abusa Sembereka. Abusa, takulandirani ndi manja awiri, kaya mwaswera bwanji kumene mulino? Ndikuona kuti mic yanu ndiyo chita mute, ndiye mwina mutachita unmute kuti zikomo kwambiri. Abusa, inu mukumveka, koma Atembo mwina mwake mufika mayamba kumveka. Ya Abusa, inu ndikukumvani, ndiyesa kuti inuyo mwaswera bwino. Ndetu nkhani imene ili pano mwina tisachituse gagamdiwa, koma tiyambe nkhani ya matenda a COVID ku Malawi kuno yakhudza bwanji ufulu wa anthu. Tiyambe ndinu Abusa Sembereka. Abusa, mwina muchite unmute. Ndiyesa kuti Abusa akuunika kuti achite unmute, ndi cholinga choti tithe kumvana bwinobwino, koma pakali pano ndithu zikuoneka kuti Bambo Tembo sitikumvana bwinobwino, komano tikhale tikuunika kuti kodi izi zikuchitika chifukwa chani kwenikweni. Koma nkhani imene tikhale tikukambirana lero lino ndi nkhani yokhudza matenda a COVID-19 komanso ntchito za ulamuliro wabwino, kayendetsedwe ka ndale, komanso ufulu wa anthu. Ndiye inunso mutha kupereka ndemanga zanu mmene nkhani imene mukuyimvera, komanso kuti inuyo zakukhudzani bwanji makamaka ku mbali ya ufulu wanu wachibadwidwe. Ndiye tikhale tikukambirana. Ndiye ndafunsatu funso Abusa kunena kuti kodi kwenikweni ntchito za ufulu wa anthu zakhudzidwa bwanji chifukwa cha matenda a COVID-19?
Mukundimva eti?
Ya, inu mukumveka?
Mukundimva?
Mukumveka Abusa, mukumveka, yankhulani.
Pali zinthu zingapo chibadwidwe anthu ngati maufulu akayendedwe, komanso mmene amachitira zinthu, ngatinso afuna kukumana zina zotero komanso pamakhala ma restriction ena amene amayikidwa amene amalepheretsa anthu kuchita mmene amachitira kale. So pakali pano chimene tikunena ndichoti pali zinthu zina zimene zasintha, zinthu zimenezo zimakhuza umoyo wa munthu, kakhalidwe ka munthu komanso mmene munthu amachitira zinthu zake za tsiku ndi tsiku mmoyo wake wa tsiku ndi tsiku. Zimene zizi zasintha ndipo zikuonetsa kuti zachita affect maufulu a anthu chifukwa zinali ngati nomu, zinali zinthu zimene amakhala kupanga daily, zinthu zimene munthu amachitidwa identify nazo. Komanso tikaona anzathu opanga business, anthu opanga business, ma business awo pakali pano ena sizikuyenda chifukwa choti anthu sakutha kugula bwinobwino zinthu kapena malo awo akumatsekedwa mwansanga. Zimene zinso ndi mbali ina ya maufulu a anthu imene akuphwanyika. Ndetitero kuti poyambirira ndisire pamene.
Chabwino, zikomo kwambiri. Mwina tipite kwa Bambo Tembo, mwina pali chowonjezera. Ainditu Bambo Tembo mwina muyese kulowanso kachikena chifukwa zikuoneka kuti mic yanu siti kumvana bwinobwino, ndiye mwina muchite kubwera. Abusa, perhaps let's continue the conversation whilst we await for Luke to return. COVID-19 is in our midst. How has it affected or impacted on people's rights generally since the disease hit our shores?
Yeah, among other things, like any pandemic, it affects people's social well-being, people's norms and values. At times, things that they did embrace as their normal well-being. Among them is movements. Movements have been restricted, say, up to a certain time. Socialization has been restricted to a certain time. Businesses, right to earn a living has been affected, and so there's a number of things that society had to conform to the current pandemic and its subsequent situation. Besides that, you do realize that the whole total landscape of our societies and the globe at large has kind of tended the abnormalities that we have experienced over time that hinges on its impact on the rights of and the well-being of human beings and
Well, look, it seems that we now have you. I hope we can hear each other. Can you hear me? Well, it seems that we having a technical glitch because I still cannot hear you. But nonetheless, I think the Reverend also has technical issues, especially with the internet. But nonetheless, we can still hear the Reverend. Reverend, can you still hear me?
I do hear you.
Okay, please. I think the internet was fluctuating, but you still hold the floor.
Yes, as you might be aware, when the first, for example, when the first announcement as regards to the rights, the COVID-19 restrictions was announced, we were the first people to challenge them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it appears that we are having internet on and off. That's really.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. So,
Yeah, please
I was
continue.
Yeah, so I was saying that we were the first institution that challenged the decisions to restrict as regards to the restrictions. One of the things that we brought before the courts were the issue of safety nets. How would the poor, the ultra poor, be cautioned in the context of those restrictions? Up to now, we've seen recently we've seen some changes where people are getting some safety nets. We hear of some 35,000 kwacha being paid to some households just for their well-being during the COVID pandemic. And because we had realized that their right to earning a living and their livelihoods were at stake. So the right to life was under threat at that material time. So we continue to see that much as the safety nets are provided now. Perhaps there are others who are left out who might be facing the same kind of setbacks.
Okay, now you really tackled the issue from a historic dimension, where the issue of social welfare was really prominent. But then with the transitioning of government, we saw your voice on the same kind of go down. Would we say that you were a bit lenient to the current dispensation because they were just new to the administration? They were new in government.
Not necessarily, but they engaged us, and we had an understanding that there will be safety nets put into place. When they started, if you see, the moment the police started harassing people in the disguise of enforcement of the COVID-19 restrictions, we did raise up a voice and we even engaged the police and said we didn't expect that in this dispensation rights of people would be trampled upon by harassing them the way they were being harassed. If anything, we said if people are actually disregarding the regulations, then get them arrested and they charged rather than beating people up in the streets. So these are some of the things that we realized that the enforcement mechanism itself was at fault, and we have indeed presented matters with the authorities.
All right, look, it appears that we now have we've been having issues with audio. I hope you can hear me and I can also hear you. Can you say something? Well, it really appears that we just have to take a small break so that we try and resolve the issue that we have with Luke. It's quite unfortunate that technology can sometimes disappoint, but we are here and would like to have a very, very candid discussion. In the event that I'm skipping some of the issues that you would want tackled, please do post them in the comment section so that we read those questions right here and the questions will be addressed. We'll be right back shortly.
Coronavirus, kuposa mkulinga utamva padziko pano papa mulili watu kuno tena yapiga sinkamba kama jali mazana kumaiko hakunja sunzika ni coronavirus ndikunena pano kuno ku Afrika pafupi konse yapiga Malawi pofika lelo tena bezeka kale ni coronavirus Malawi samala Malawi shenjela tigapusa ditano si isamba manja pafupi kugwiritsa ntchito soko ibewe kumakhala pamwe pali chikulu monga kumisika ni mabala tisamakhala moya ndigana ochepera wanimita ngati tikumpa zizindikilo tikale patoka wosaindaenda aunguna waza umoyo akulengeza zakapewede ikamatendao sawa ife tikampatingo ino kwakwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa omwe tikagwirizana aunguna waza marenawa amafala kutela mumakololo mumalopo ni maminga okosa mola tisika jochinga zojo kankamwa zisakwele ibewe kupila bagamwa ibewe kupila mpuno maso mkudu tisana sambe manja ndisobo ngati kunchito mumapila ambili kuli bwino kugawana mashifti isevide dala kumalo omwe kwabuka matendawe
Tibalala no samolindi utindo muone tete kuri muguti dedenda kumarendawa tisamukuta ranga riride zotiredezea tibe waso upila masa moni wabamanda
Gomara Malawi siri jede ufuna kutanga ndi marendawa lakazikitsa ndondo mego ufuna kutetela ndi marendawa laigana bala ya yomwe lizimba kuitana madokolo kuzalitangizira panyumba patu pamene lava kutenta mtupi kukosomola kowirikiza kuvuma mobanikaniikine imba imefoni ndaule nambala yake 547 kajigenda 547 imbaniso 547 kajigenda 547 Dino kwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa coronavirus matenda wote koma tikagwirizana auna Dino kwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa coronavirus matenda wote koma tikagwirizana auna
Skefa Chimoto ndi nyimbo yochedwa coronavirus. Abusa Sembereka takulandiranso ku chigawo china tikhale tikulandira Tembo posachedwapa tikukumana ndi mavuto bena ndiye makamaka zinthu zosayankhula komanso zopanda manja tiyesa kuti sizitikanika ndipo tikhale tikupitiriza kucheza kwathuku. Abusa nkhani ya ufulu wa anthu mwakambapo za ufulu wa moyo komanso ufulu olandira thandizo umoyo wabwino tinene choncho nkhani ya COVID-19 yatsamira kwambiri ku nkhani za maufulu ndiye maufulu alipo oti tikuona kuti maufulu kapena kuti akupikisana kuti kodi ufulu umene utakhale patsogolo ndi kodi ndi ufulu wa moyo kapena ndi ufulu wa thandizo limene inuyo ngati amabungwe kumbuyoku takhala tikuona amabungwe akupitiriza kuchita zionetsero nthawi zina mwina kukhala malo amene pali gulu ndi zina zoterezi. Kodi mungatiuzepo chani pa nkhani ngati imeneyi chifukwa inu nomwe mukukamba kuti munthu ali ndi ufulu wa moyo, tikudziwa kuti matenda komanso ufulu wa thanzi ndi umoyo wabwino, komanso tikuona kuti mbuyomu mwina posati pasodapo koma mbuyomu makhala mukumema anthu kuti asonkhane malo amodzi achite zinthu ngati zimenezo, ndiye mwina mpata wakufunsani umasowa panopo wapezeka. Kodi simukuona ngati kuti nanunso amabungwe mumakhala ngati kuti mumasonkhezera kufala kwa kachirombo kamene? Abusa Sembereka. Mwina tiyese ku Abusa Sembereka. Aindithu amenewo siti kumvana, makamaka sakundimva. Bwana Tembo, mwina ndikulankhuleni inuyo, nkhani imene ndimafunsa apa ndi akuti inuyo za ufulu makamaka tifunsani kaye kuti kapena mwina tingamvane pamenepo. Inu mukundimva? Ndithu Tembo akuoneka kuti akundimva, ndiyesa kuti iwo akhale akulankhula posi chidapa. Abusa, kaya munamva funso ndinafunsa lija? Ayi, zikuonekanso kuti abusa intaneti yakhala ngati kuti yasautsa. Kwenikweni funso limene ndimafunsali ndimafunsira kuti za ufulu akhala kufotokoza kunena kuti munthu apanso abwereza kunena kuti munthu ali ndi ufulu woyenda, munthu ali ndi ufulu wochita za malonda, munthu ali ndi ufulu wolandira chilango munjira yoyenera osati kuti apolisi ammenye. Komabe timaona kuti maufuluwa amapikisana kwambiri, maufulu amene ali abwino kwa munthu komanso amene ali oyipa kwa munthu, kapena kuti ufuluwo umasanduka oyipa kwa munthuyo. Ndiye timafuna kuti iwowa atiunikire kwenikweni ku mbali ya za ufulu wa anthu. Bambo Tembo, mukutimva pakali pano?
Ndio kumvani bwino lomwe, kaya mukundimva kaya?
Welcome. Tathokoza kwambiri. Ndiye inuyo mwina make muyambe pa funso limeneli lonena kuti inuyo amabungwe makhala mukusiyanitsa maufuluwa kuti ufuluwu ndi ufulu umene munthu ali ndi ufulu wa moyo, munthu ali ndi ufulu wa moyo wa thanzi, munthu ali ndi ufulu woyendayenda, komano pena zikupezeka kuti maufulu akukolana. Komano inu ngati aza ufulu wa chibadwidwe makhala mukuonekanso kuti makhala mukumema anthu mbuyomo kuti anthu abwere malo osonkhana. Simukuona ngati kuti mbuyomo munakolezeranso kufala kwa matenda amenewo? Bambo Tembo.
Zikoma kwambiri, ndikukhulupirira kuti mukundimva bwino lomwe.
Ya ndikumva, mukumveka ndithu.
Zikoma kwambiri ate je inati sokoneza kuyambirira kuja kumano zikoma kwambiri khala nani kampani zingamamba bwino lomwe kumano kuti yankule microphone si matheka. Tikamakamba nkhani za maufulu timayenera kuti tizizimvetsetsa bwino lomwe kuti kodi zimakhala bwanji. Mwalongosola bwino lomwe kuti pali maufulu osiyanasiyana, komano maufuluwo sikuti ufulu ina uliwonse umayima pawokha, ufulu ina uliwonse umakhala kuti ukugwirizana. Komano mwe panawidwa ndithu ndiye tikamaya ngulu ena woti ufulu inawo pali andimola kwambiri chifukwa umwe ndo ufulu ona kapena ufulu kapena ufulu wopita kusukulu ndi zina zotero. Ndeno ifeyo ngati tizizimvetsetsa bwino lomwe kuti kodi zinthu zimakhala bwanji. Ukukumbukira ifeyo nthawi yoyambira busa ananena apo ngati chaka chatha timanena nkhani za electoral justice, kuti pofunika kuti pakhale ndithu kuchilungamo pa nkhani ya zisankho zimene zinasizinaine mu 2009. Nthawi imeneyoyo zimaoneka poyera kuti nthawi imeneyoyo limafuna kuti libisalire ya COVID-19 kuti maufulu nawo aphwanyidwe. Tawo tinatha kupanga zisankho bwino lomwe ngakhale COVID inalipo. Zisankho zinachitika mwezi wa Juni. COVID kumalayi kunoko inaza tizunguza osati mu Juni momwemo komano chakumapeto kwa chaka komanso kumayambiriro kwa chaka chino. Sikuti nkhani inaliyo kuti kapena panali chifukwa choti panali zisankho ndiye kuti tinakolezera kuti COVID apitirire. Olonso nkhani nthawi imene tinkapanga zionetsero ija sikuti COVID inativuta kodi bwanji, of course inalipo nthawi imeneyo komano sikuti inativuta kuti mafika anakwera kwambiri. Chimene chinachitika cho inatayirira mchina zina ndi zina chifukwa COVID inativuta kuti yapita sokolo. Ndeno monga nkhani vanhu ndikuti tofunika ndithu kuti timvetsane kuti tamati maufulu achita kuti maufulu achipadidwero ofunikira mmene ndinena kuti ofunika kuti ukhale ndi moyo watanzi komanso kuti ukhale kuti uli ndi moyo pamene ungakhale kuti ukunjoya maufulu enawo.
Zikukhala ngati kuti network lero yavuta ndipo yavutadi chifukwa lero lino tinalandira ndithu mvula yamphamvu kuno ku Lilongwe, ndiye madera ena ndi ena magetsi komanso internet makamaka yakhala ili yovuta. Ndiye tiyesa kuti pakali panopo zikuoneka kuti tayana nawo komano tingotenga zina zimene anthu akukamba. Akufusa akunena kuti what's going on in Tanzania? President Magufuli in a Kenyan hospital with corona, Tanzania with no corona restrictions whatsoever. How dangerous is it or not? Well, I think at some point when Luke or the Reverend return, because right now I can see they are out of the conversation. They should be joining us shortly. And when they do, and should they do, then they will try and look at the question from the dimension of human rights as well as governance, because it's also a governance issue. I mean, sovereignty issues. Tanzania is a sovereign country, but also Tanzania is a signatory to several treaties that ensures that it does not, in terms of health, it does not compromise the health status of other neighboring countries. It is a member of the SADC, and SADC, I understand, SADC, the African Union, have protocols on health and management of pandemics. So Tanzania is indeed under obligation to really look at those aspects. But then in terms of governance, Tanzania is a sovereign country. It has its own sovereignty, and they really have to look at issues from the inside out. And should they notice that they don't have cases, it really becomes difficult for a foreigner to step in and tell them what to do when they think that they are entitled to the decisions that they are making within the paradigm of sovereignty. But Luke is here. I guess Luke has been listening to what I've been saying, and he might have something interesting. Luke, welcome back. I hope this time around the internet will be okay. Somebody is asking a question. I hope you have taken note of the question. Well, I guess we are still experiencing problems with Luke. Luke, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well, it appears we are really experiencing internet challenges, but then I will try and see if Luke can get in one more time. And if it doesn't work, then we just have to abort so that we carry on the conversation at another convenient time. So let's give it a try. I see the Reverend is back in the room. Welcome back, Reverend. Well, I see the signal is quite weak on the other end, and we've been experiencing heavy rains, and it's no surprise that we are encountering such kind of intermittent. Okay, that's perfect. Now I can hear you loud and clear. There is a question to do with Tanzania. Perhaps you might wish to carry on from that question.
Okay, I'm just going through the question.
Can you hear me, Luke?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. The question is to do with the issue of the Tanzanian president, His Excellency Magufuli, being in Kenyan hospital. And then it says Tanzania with no corona restriction whatsoever. How dangerous is this? Yeah, so these are the things that we've been pushing as HRDC, and we've been really worried. With the virus, countries and nations are supposed to be pulling in the same direction. But it's worrisome that our neighbors, while we are doing one thing, they are doing the opposite. You go to bordering districts like Karonga and Chitipa, you find that, people interact on daily basis. And the part of Malawi, the country is pushing for the COVID protocols, wearing face masks, social distancing, washing of hands. But just a few meters away from the border, you find that people are doing the opposite. I was reading somewhere where it was being said that if you go into Tanzanian territories, if you're wearing a mask, people think that you brought corona to their country. And the leadership of Tanzania has not even helped matters, because they think that coronavirus is still a hoax or something like that. But I think it's high time that our neighbors in Tanzania take this thing seriously. I think the other day, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we heard about the passing on of their vice president, and today we're hearing about President Magufuli being in hospital. I hope this is going to serve as a lesson for Tanzania to bring in the approved COVID protocols that will help to minimize the spread of COVID-19.
Now, I raised the issue of sovereignty. Don't you think that it is too much for a neighboring country such as Malawi to intervene on the state of affairs of another country such as Tanzania? For example, their official narrative has been that there is no COVID. They have relied on prayer to eliminate COVID. That is a controversial statement, but then the issue of governance, the issue of sovereignty is quite serious, and we understand that there are treaties that Tanzania is under obligation. Then why is it that it is seemingly visible that countries are respecting the sovereignty of one country and undermining or ignoring the rights of citizens of that country as well as its neighbors. Why is it that we are seeing the sovereignty argument weighing much than the right to health and other rights that are related for those in Tanzania as well as those in Malawi?
Yeah, I think the issue of sovereignty comes into play in as far as COVID-19 is concerned. But equally important is for nations to understand that we live in a global world, where you've rightly put that there are quite a number of treaties that countries under the United Nations have signed. I'm not sure whether Tanzania is party to the United Nations Convention that indicate that they should be right to health. But you will agree with me that on daily basis, Tanzania is not a standalone country. Malawians go to Tanzania. Malawians are married to Tanzanian. Malawians go to Dar es Salaam on daily basis to get goods and goods that come through their border. So to a certain extent, the sovereignty argument doesn't hold, because at the end of the day, they are sovereign to their citizens, but they welcome thousands and thousands of people from other countries: Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda. They depend on Tanzania for trade. And that becomes a problem, because at the end of the day, people will go to Tanzania from Malawi doing their trade. They go there, if they wear a mask, they are despised upon. They come back, probably have got the virus, they come with it to Malawi. So while we front the issue of sovereignty, we need also to dig deeper into what does sovereignty really mean. Does it mean endangering your neighbors? I don't think that would be the intention of people who coined the term sovereignty. Sovereignty means you can make your own decisions, but not endangering the lives of other people.
You have raised quite a counter argument in that regard. Let us come back to Malawi. We noted that a lot of resources, we are aware that resources meant for COVID were abused. And right now, as it stands, there has been no detailed account on each and every penny of that money. And I know there are some citizens that have been pushing for the release of a detailed account on the same. At some point, HRDC did raise the issue, but it has not been as vocal as it used to be. What is the current position of the HRDC with regards to the utilization of resources meant for COVID, or rather the abuse of resources meant for COVID in terms of accounting for that money?
Yeah, it's so topical, the issue of COVID-19 resources. As HRDC, we've taken a deliberate position to be part and parcel of following the COVID-19 money. As you rightly put, without a detailed account on how the resources were used, it becomes difficult for advocates like us to really launch a campaign that will be mindful, because at this point it's only hearsay. But as HRDC, we stand ready, and we've already started what we're calling a payback our money campaign on COVID-19. You remember the other time when there was a video that circulated capturing the then chairperson, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Information, exchanging notes on how they would cover up the issue of allowances. We came very hard on them. Of course, at that point, there were other pressing issues that we were attending to, the electoral justice, but we really pushed for accountability on that. The ombudsperson's report also gives us a very fertile ground to dig deep and pinpoint who exactly benefited from that manner. Of course, I don't think the report exactly says XYZ benefited from that. Other than that, there was a leak of a document alleging that Honorable Nanguma benefited in the excess of 3 million in terms of allowances. We still stand that Honorable Nanguma fraudulently benefited from that and allegedly fraudulent from that, and we demand that he pays back that money. Other than that, we know probably that there is some road that is being tried to be covered up. The 6.2 billion that clusters benefited last June, I think June or July, is also one topical issue. We demanded from the National Task Force to have the reports from the different clusters to be made available to HRDC and Malawi so that we can appreciate how the funds were used. Other than that, we are also eagerly waiting for the forensic audit report that the President has directed to be carried out on all the COVID-19 funds. We are working on the assumption that people probably fraudulently benefited from those funds, and should the audit report establish that there are certain individuals that benefited from that, we are going to, in earnest, launch a very, very fierce campaign targeting individuals that would be highlighted in the report that they have benefited from the COVID-19 funds, personally benefit from COVID-19 funds, and then we are calling for criminal investigation into those. Not only that, but we will also be demanding for them to pay back the money that they used, and the money that they used and they were not supposed to use that kind of money.
Thank you very much for the clarification and really reminding on some of the activities that you've been doing and working on. Now, in terms of, we understand that government has been issuing money to various people in various parts of the country. Now, this money is supposed to cushion those that have suffered the impacts and shocks of COVID-19. My question to you is that usually we are complacent until something goes wrong. We are complacent until we hear or something leaks. In terms of providing checks and balances, do you think there have been adequate checks and balances in place in ensuring that the money goes to those that are intended to benefit during this exercise?
Thanks. I think that's a very, very important question. You know, people take advantage of crises such as crises and disasters such as COVID-19 to abuse funds and to abuse the powers that they have. I'll be speaking from HRDC perspective. We haven't really seen how or what strategies or protocols that have been put together to make sure that there is no or little abuse in terms of disbursement of the funds to cushion the vulnerable. The first thing would be what is the criteria for choosing who to benefit from such funds? We hear the other day in Indirande, people were protesting and questioning the criteria used for people to benefit from those COVID-19 funds. There were allegations that people who are better off are benefiting from the funds. It also it only speaks to the criteria probably used and who the powers that be consulted to make sure that the funds go to the intended purpose. So for us, we haven't really appreciated, and I think it also speaks to most Malawians, how government arrived at identifying that these are the real people that need to benefit from the funds that are meant to cushion the poor. We've also seen, for example, in other related disasters, how probably those that have been entrusted with the job to go and meet the vulnerables, how they would abuse their funds, their powers in terms of the displacements of the fund. We haven't heard that from in terms of the issue of COVID-19, but issues of sexual abuse are rampant in such kind of scenarios. You would recall probably the issues where, in terms of the disasters that usually happen in Chikwawa, the floods and everything, women will come in the fore to allege that probably they are abuse of funds, sexual violence, that are always associated with such. But to respond to your question, I think there is need for more information that needs to come out to the general public so that we can appreciate how we've identified first the beneficiaries and how we are dispersing the funds in different areas that we're supposed to disperse. There is also the issue of how do we make a balance between the rural areas and the urban areas. We have the urban poor. How do we make sure that we identify them? Do we identify them by way of where they live, or which location they stay? What are the criteria that are used for such kind of exercises to make sure that we minimize chances of targeting those people that are better off and disadvantaging the people that need the funds the most?
Well, now let's move to another issue that still relates to COVID-19. This is what just happened recently. We received a batch, or rather a consignment of COVID-19 vaccine. Now, earlier on, when we started the program, we were talking about the rights in general. So we talked about rights that have been impinged upon and rights that have been swept under the carpet. But right now, when we talk of COVID vaccine, we are talking of the right to information, for example, where people are provided with good information that eliminates all prospect for doubt whatsoever. Now, the COVAX vaccine is coming at a time where the AstraZeneca vaccine is being pulled off the shelves in other countries, especially in Europe, for various reasons. One of them being that it is causing blood clotting in some patients, although the sample size is quite negligible at this point in time. But then we have a vaccine that is being doubted. The efficacy that was done went to as far as 70%, which is quite a good thing. But now the bad thing is that in as much as this vaccine, we know for a fact, based on the research that was done on the efficacy of the vaccine, that it is in order. However, the kind of information that is filtering, especially through social media, is not facing adequate counteraction from the authorities. Now, I would want you I would want to engage you as a human rights defender to say, people are at a crossroads. They are facing a lot of information from Europe, for example, on the vaccine being pulled off the shelves. But here we are. We saw the president getting the job. We saw the vice president getting the job, their spouses, the commander in chief of the Malawi Armed Forces, the head of the Catholic Church, one of the leading officials at the UN, which is reassuring in a way, but the kind of information that we are getting is kind of confusing from a human rights point of view. Looking at all those rights involved, what is your take on this issue?
Yeah, sure. Let me start by saying that I will be commenting on this issue from a purely human rights perspective. There are some technical issues that probably needs to be responded to by those who've got the technical knowledge in terms of how vaccines work and stuff like that. We're reading from the papers how the vaccine that Malawi has chosen is being managed in other jurisdictions. The other day we were in South Africa where they said, no, this thing is, let's do more studies on this, and we're hearing from Europe where it's causing blood clot and stuff. But probably that would be something that would be best addressed by people who know how these vaccines work and stuff. But from a pure human rights perspective, the right to health related to the vaccines, one of the prominent pillars, tenets of the right to health is that the services that are being offered has to be acceptable by people that are accessing the services. So I think it boils down to what you have said. What information is being given out there for people to accept the service that is the vaccine that Malawians have chosen, that Malawi has chosen to run with in terms of the vaccination, the type of vaccine that Malawi is moving with. We are of the view that the advice that probably the government has gotten from the technical people that know about vaccines and how they work, we believe that government has done a due diligence and that it has made the right decision that Malawi should go with the vaccine that it has chosen to go with. But the other aspect of it is that how do we make sure that we go flat out in making sure that this vaccine is now acceptable, dealing with the myths and misconceptions that are there. We also understand that every medication, including vaccinations, they will have, in a way or the other, side effects. You talk about the simple Panadol or something. Other people will react to it, but other people would not. You've rightly put that we're talking about percentage of the vaccine that Malawi has chosen and how it is reacting in other jurisdictions. But the bottom line is that we need to make sure that we believe that government has made a due diligence and it has made a right decision to put Malawians to access the type of vaccine that it has made. One. Number two, we need more information to deal with the myths and misconceptions that are out there. The other day, only yesterday, one of our comrades who heads the gender desk at the Human Rights Defenders Coalition, he was out in the field around Lilongwe, and people thought that they've come, she and her team had gone there to administer vaccines, and then the crowds became violent. Actually, they broke her rear glass of the car. So it only points to the fact that out there is little information and myths and misconceptions about the vaccine that Malawi has chosen, or the vaccine in general, has not sunk into Malawians, and it will be really difficult for Malawi to move in that direction. So we need more information on the need for Malawians to have this vaccination and the benefits, and explaining whether these side effects have got any effect on Malawians or not.
All right, look, it appears that we have run out of time, but we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. Understand that we have been experiencing heavy rains in Lilongwe, and network has not been at the best of its behavior. Nonetheless, I think this program should not count as a program at all, and I would want to kindly request you that we should do a repeat of the program with good internet, so that the important issues that have been discussed should really be discussed in an environment where we have a lot of people, and with the good quality, where we can really discuss these issues and understand them quite well. Nonetheless, I appreciate you for really standing and being patient with technology. It can be really frustrating, I know about it, and I look forward personally to having you very, very soon, so that we really can have Reverend Sembereka with us, so that we can begin from the beginning and go all the way to the end, and appreciate these issues with regards to human rights and COVID-19. Many thanks also to those watching us wherever they are, and we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience, especially with the way the internet has been behaving. Well, look, I thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Malik, for having me. I think the internet connection.
Thank you.
Down, but, thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Nde kwanonse amene mnatuonera tathokoza kwambiri, ndipo tikupepesa kweni kamba ka vuto la makina a internet. Chifukwa cha vuto la internet zimavuta ndithu kuti tithe kumvana ndi alendo amene tinali nawo, koma nkhani imene timakambirana pano lero inali nkhani yokhudza ufulu wa anthu ndi matenda a COVID. Ndiye zimene zakambidwa ndi zambiri, koma ndikutsimikizireni kuti tikhale tikukonzanso programu yachibwereza ndi akatswiri za ufulu wa anthu, kunena kuti mudzakhale mukumva kuti anthu akhudzidwa bwanji ndi matenda a COVID-19, koma nanga ntchito za ufulu, kayendetsedwe ka boma komanso za ndale zikukhudzidwa bwanji ndi nthenda imeneyi. Ndiye mpaka nthawi zina pamene tidzakumanenso kuti tifotokozerane zokhudzana ndi COVID-19, ndine Malik Mnela, ndipo ndingoti mwakoma nonse.
Moni wapa majani mbili ya kale, wanoti kusamba majani papu papu. Coronavirus, ino kwa muri, zingolonsela zingwa, coronavirus, matenda wote, koma tikakwirizana, au nduna wazauti, kugundisoko saukulinga utamba, patiko pano papa mulili, watu kuno tena yampiga sikamba kama jale. Mazana kumaiko hakunja, sunziga ni coronavirus. Nikone na pano kuno ku Afrika, pafubi konse apiga. Malawi pofika lelo, tena bezena kale ni coronavirus. Malawi samala, Malawi shenjela, tiga pusa ditano si. Samba manja bafubi kukwilitsa ntchito soko. Ibewe kumakhala pamwe misika ni mabala tisamakale moya ndigana ochepera wanimita ngati tikumpa zizindikilo tikale patoka wosainaenda aunguna waza umoyo akulengeza zakapewede ikamatendao sawa ife tikampa tingo ino kwakwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa omwe tikagwirizana aunguna waza marendawa amafala kutela mumakololo mumaloko ndi maminda okosa mola tisika chochinga zochokankamwa zisakwele ipewe kupila bakamwa ipewe kupila mvuno maso komanso mkudu tisana sambe mmanja ndi sopo ngati kunchito mumapila ambiri kuli bwino kugawana mashifti isepite dala kumalo komwe kwabuka matendawa
Ogwira ntchito tibalala nonse muli ndi udindo muonetsetse kuti mukudziteteza kumatendawa tisamukhudze odwala ngati tilibe zodzitetezera tipewenso kupirira m'maso komanso moni wa pamanja
gomala malawi sili chede ufuna kutanga ndi matendawa lakazikitsa ndondomeko ufuna kutetela matendawa layikana bala ya ulele ya ifumi yolowezeka yomwe liziyimba kuitana madokolo kuzatithandizira panyumba patu pamene tamva kutenta mtupi kukosomola kowirikiza kubuma mobanikandizikine imbani foni yaule kampala yake 547 kajigenda 547 imbaniso 547 kajigenda 547 dino kwakwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa koma tikagwirizana auna dino kwakwa mulini tikolonsela zingwa koma tikagwirizana auna